combat sports event that occurred on June 6, 2021 between Floyd Mayweather Jr., the now retired former superstar champion in the welterweight division, super welterweight division, super featherweight division, lightweight division, super lightweight division, against Mr. Logan Paul, the now star YouTuber, prankster, online media personality, and what it fully represented and how it resonated on a multitude of levels. Of course, even the mainstream media seemed quizzical as to how this fight got made in the first place. I plan on fully expounding on my view, my perspective, as to what the parameters were in making this fight, why it was made, and what each combatant represented on an esoteric level, because as we've now come to understand, these events that are projected out to the masses are actually meant to be modern incarnations of the battles of the gods from ancient lore. Many of the testimonies that were given in other cultures pertaining to the constant struggle between good and evil. So we must now find out, who is it that Floyd Mayweather Jr. represents? And what is it that he truly adheres to behind the scenes, behind the curtain, that makes him privy to be allowed to play these archetypal characters? As well as who is none other than Mr. Logan Paul, and what does he represent in the grand scheme of things, particularly in juxtaposition to Floyd Mayweather Jr. On the course of this journey that we're about to partake on, I hope to do my best to convince you brothers out there of what I see and why it's relevant. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
For Floyd Mayweather to beat up Logan Paul, don't worry, it's going to happen. We know that it was originally supposed to go down.
Now, brothers, please pay very close attention. I mentioned in my two-dimensional evaluation of their fight, or in the aftermath video that I did of their fight on my Chronicles of Judah 2 channel, that Logan Paul, he represents a quote-unquote Rocky archetype. Now, the character of Rocky, as designed and scripted by Sylvester Stallone, was supposed to represent the divine sin bearer, the holder of our sins, the mediator and the abater of the destruction of all of humanity, a quote-unquote global Christ figure. That's why the character of Rocky was designed to take so much punishment. He was meant to represent the unification of the quote-unquote black sun and the golden sun, or the orange sun per se. Orange is the new black. As well as taking on the characteristics of the great goat, the unification of the red lodge and the blue lodge. That's why when you watch the Rocky films, his trunks during his fights would tell the tale of his pathway upwards towards enlightenment. In Rocky 2, when he wore the gold and black trunks in his rematch against Apollo Creed, when he overcame the sun god, with Rocky playing the great bull or the divine Taurus. In Rocky 3, when he squared off against Clubber Lang, aka Hercules, aka Gilgamesh, when he once again was able to overcome, starting off with the gold and black trunks again, but then eventually taking on Apollo's trunks of blue, red, and white. That's the same character archetype that Logan Paul was meant to play in juxtaposition to Floyd Mayweather, who played the role of the green man Osiris, or the quote-unquote god of the dead, the patriarchal figure who at one time ruled during a golden age, but now had to hand off the scepter to none other than Logan Paul, believe it or not. I do believe that Floyd's handlers behind the scenes wanted him to make a rematch with Manny Pacquiao, but he did not want to make that fight for whatever reason. They may have wanted him to fight a younger fighter just so that he can go through the ritual of handing off the baton or the scepter. He decided against it because of his level of clout. So what they did was they forced him to subject himself to a ritualistic removal of certain loved ones. And we saw that during 2020 with the removal of Josie Harris, as well as his uncle, the quote-unquote Black Mamba, Roger Mayweather. And he still had to fight. He had to pass some of his spiritual energy over to his divine replacement, none other than the White Bull, aka Zeus or Set, played by the character of the prankster or the god of chaos, Logan Paul. Once again, I'll be expounding on this over the course of this series so that brothers can understand why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Or issues with COVID and other things going on that caused the promoters to postpone the event. But now we are being told that Floyd and Logan are targeting a June 6th.
As we can see, even in this montage of photos, they're showing who both characters represent and how their roles are interchangeable. There's a reason why they're showing Floyd with the black and gold trunks as he declares war against Manny Pacquiao. In this fight, he was playing the quote-unquote golden god, or the unification of Saturn and Apollo. And Pacquiao was clearly allowed, even though he was tested, he was clearly still allowed to use some form of performance enhancer, because you can see all of the acne up and down his back. And of course, everything I'm saying is alleged.
You might notice there's something unusual about that date. June 6th is a Sunday.
Once again, the reason why Floyd and Logan Paul fought on June 6th of 2021 is because the number 66 represents the horn god Molech, the quote-unquote bull god of sacrifice. Beyond that, the month of June bears high significance for both fighters, particularly for Logan Paul, because he is a manifestation of Tammuz, the vegetation god who's meant to replace the previous vegetation god of Asar or Osiris, played by Floyd Mayweather. Logan Paul, he's both the son and the husband of the mother goddess, the dove goddess Juno, who also, of course, is the namesake of the month that is now characterized by the promotion of the LGBTQ life choice. Please keep that in mind, because it's going to be very clear that Logan Paul is a pansexual himself. Once again, everything I'm saying is alleged, but it's going to be very clear that Logan Paul is a pansexual himself who was placed through ritualistic satanic ritual abuse and prepared for the industry by his handlers from his youth upward, as well as his brother Jake Paul.
Not the day of the week for a main event, high-level pay-per-view boxing match. Usually,
I can't remember any fight ever being on a Sunday, Evan. It's sometimes Friday night, but it's usually Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, you like to, grab an adult beverage and hang out by the TV and,
Now, hopefully you brothers are paying very close attention to the montage of photos. We're constantly seeing representations of Logan Paul squaring off against his brother. I believe his name is KSI. You'll see that Logan Paul has on the blue, red, and white trunks with the blue and red lodge of masonry, all brought together, representing the highest form of illumination. He's proverbial Pan, aka the quote-unquote great goat, or quote-unquote Uncle Sam, aka Master Samael, against this cat here, KSI, who's wearing the black, red, and white trunks, also showing that he is an adherent or meant to be a representation of Pan. So it's white Pan versus black Pan duality being brought together. In the previous photo, they showed Floyd Mayweather in the black trunks against the Japanese fighter in the white trunks, once again representing duality. That is the meaning or the symbolism of Floyd being forced to square off against Logan Paul on June 6th of 2021. That was always going to be the date.
Boxing, but in this particular case, we're being told from multiple sources connected to Floyd Mayweather that they are targeting June 6th, Sunday. And the main reason for that, we're being told, is because there is a venue that they are looking at specifically in Miami that can accommodate a large number of fans. They want.
Once again, we can see here Floyd Mayweather wearing the black and gold trunks. Orange is the new black. He is both Saturn and Apollo, fighting against none other than one Mr. Manny Pacquiao wearing the yellow trunks himself. Also meant to be a manifestation of the quote-unquote sun god Apollo.
Fans at this event, and the best date to accommodate that situation is the Sunday, June 6th. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, that's a weird day for a pay-per-view. Are they going to be able to, make as much money as they would have if it was on a Saturday night? And I would point to this. WWE has been doing massive pay-per-view events on Sunday nights for a very long time, and they've been very successful at it. So if this is marketed and promoted the right way, I think that there is a real opportunity for Floyd Mayweather here. But the good news...
Even in the card video that they choose to show in preparation for this fight, they have Floyd Mayweather here with the black jacket on, black shirt underneath. The female that he's with is wearing the yellow top with the black bra. They choose these specific video footages on purpose in an attempt to convey to you that there is a different message that is the undercurrent revolving around these events that transpire. They're not just regular sporting events. They're meant to be sporting rituals to harken back to the ancient world and commemorate the deeds of the gods in their battles of good versus evil and the transition of power, and how as above is so below. Both the good and the dark side, or the bad and the light side, are the same. They're just reflections of one another.
fight. It's going to happen. That's the weekend that they're looking at right now.
Yeah, and look, I think it's going to be great. I mean, look, I know it's not Logan, but it's Jake Paul, and they just sold something like 1.5 million pay-per-view buys of Ben Askren versus Jake Paul. Floyd Mayweather once.
Now they show Jake Paul in his knockout of Ben Askren, once again wearing what? The black and gold trunks. He also was meant to personify the figure of the coming together of Apollo and Saturn. Orange is the new black, or the gold sun is the same as the black sun. You understand that? The patriarchal figure passes down his magical powers to his reincarnated son.
Highest pay-per-view selling events ever. Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao, Floyd versus Conor McGregor. So Floyd is a huge draw. Logan is a huge draw. I think they could fight on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. This thing is going to be massive. I kind
of wish they would fight on like a Wednesday, because I get the Sunday scaries, you know, going into the work week.
I know, you got work.
That's because you're a hoe.
I try to go to bed early on Sunday.
We have a fun job. We all have a fun job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You know what I think? I'm like...
No, we don't know what you think, Renee Montgomery, and we don't particularly care, but go ahead.
Amazing situation for Floyd Mayweather. He's going to cash out on this fight. As you know, he's going to take my money and everyone else's money sitting here.
I mean, it's funny what she's saying, but honestly, I would pay money to watch Floyd Mayweather spar. I would. I wouldn't pay, of course, the amount of money that I would pay to watch a pay-per-view event, a real fight. But I would pay to watch him spar. That's the level of mastery that he exhibits in the boxing ring. People have no idea how much of a genius this man is.
I already know what's going to happen. When he beats Logan, Jake Paul wants to avenge his brother. They're going to have a matchup where Jake Paul...
Now, I'm sure that you guys just saw that. Let me rewind it back just a little bit. Once again, the theme, orange is the new black. This was in the aftermath of his fight against Victor Ortiz. You understand? All of these are ritualistic events that occur. Now, Floyd Mayweather, he was initiated into the craft most likely early in his career. And of course, they also show the index finger and the middle finger over his mouth. In the aftermath of the fight, he's kissing to the audience to celebrate the victory. But esoterically, the reason why they're using this photo is because those two fingers over his mouth represent that he's taken an oath, and he will never tell what the truth is pertaining to how operations and protocols are pursued, perceived, and executed behind the scenes. You understand? It's a totally different thing. People say, well, the fights are rigged. It's not so much that they're rigged. What they do is they bring together two archetypal gods in the sporting world. You have to get high enough to be considered a god when it comes to how much energy you can create, how much money you can create. And then after that, you're allowed to engage in combat, and whoever wins, wins. Now, there's an overarching script, but if that script doesn't work out, they just rewrite it. That's all. But there's a reason why TMZ is showing certain photos in the aftermath of certain fights or during certain fights. They have to make sure that the color schemes are consistent with their delivery of what actually occurred and transpired and why.
Avenge his brother.
Now we see Jake Paul with his manager. I'm assuming that that's Jillian Love wearing the yellow shirt with the black stars on it. Once again, the coming together of the gold sun and the black sun.
Even bigger than the first fight, and all I see is Floyd Mayweather doing what he does, cashing out and getting more money.
It's going to go down June 6th, so clear your Sunday.
And yes, Floyd Mayweather is very much aware of the concept of the horn god, the Baphomet, aka Dis Pater, the quote-unquote god of the underworld, the god of money. That's the god that he worships, that he venerates, allegedly.
Be a big one.
As we can see here, they once again end the montage showing the duality, the so-called Caucasian against the so-called black man. The so-called Caucasian has on the blue, red, and white themes for the goat god Pan, or for quote-unquote Uncle Sam, aka Samael, the Lord of Saturn. Floyd Mayweather has on the black and gold to show that he is at one with the sun, aka his son. He is the father god. He's the father figure. He's both Saturn and Apollo. Okay, so now, brothers, we're going to pick up with this next segment. They're going to cover some of the hyping of the event that occurred on June 6th of 2021, particularly the event that transpired on the day of the press conference in which Floyd Mayweather squared off against not only Logan Paul, but also his younger brother, the quote-unquote problem child, Jake Paul. And there's a reason why he has been given that moniker of the problem child. He represents a microcosm of the quote-unquote god of chaos, Horus or Heru, aka the quote-unquote clown god. I'll be delving into that a bit deeper later on in this series. But they do have plans for Jake Paul, particularly esoterically. There are so many correlations between his name and the numerology associated with it that will convey to you exactly what his goals are in the industry and what their plans are for him in the industry. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
And you know we're going to start with that video of Floyd Mayweather threatening to kill a bunch of people at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Oh man, this was one of the wildest scenes I've ever seen. Floyd Mayweather had a media event to promote his upcoming boxing.
Yo, this dude Logan Paul, man. I mean, I know that this is a three-dimensional evaluation, but just for a second, this dude Logan Paul and his brother Jake Paul, they are phenomenal antagonists. Like, they really know how to make you want to punch them in their damn face. Just their face looks punchable, man.
Paul, and it went sideways fast.
Now notice where they freeze framed it and the photo that they wanted to use as a still shot. You see Floyd's left hand throwing up the mano cornuto. Once again, in regular time, he's just making a regular gesture. But the montage of photos that are used are always meant to convey to the audience what these events are actually about and who these people really are behind the scenes.
Logan's brother Jake showed up, snatched a hat off of Floyd Mayweather's head. There was a violent altercation that ensued. Floyd was...
And of course, we also see Logan Paul here dressed in the black, white, and red to show that he is a worshiper of the GOAT. He's a worshiper of Pan. High-level witch.
Saying, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill a bleep bleep. Saying all sorts of words.
Now, if you're paying very close attention, we see here Logan Paul in the foreground. In the background, we see his younger brother, Jake Paul. Now, he's wearing a shirt that has 123 on it, but you'll notice that only the 23 is highlighted. The number 23 representing DNA, also representing being engineered. You understand? Or DNA manipulation.
But this thing spiraled out of control fast, and man, you know that Floyd and Jake and Logan Paul are all loving every second of it. So let's start at the beginning, because they were all at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami where the Dolphins play. You can see Floyd dressed up in his Dolphins colored outfit right there, which is kind of cool. And while he was on stage, he's like, look, you, Logan Paul, and your brother Jake Paul.
Floyd should have smacked him right there. He wouldn't have did shit. He wouldn't have wanted the fight called off. He would have just took it. Floyd should have slapped the shit out of him right there.
And I would fight both of you on June 6th if you guys are down. And that's what that was the centerpiece of the whole thing here. So let's play that soundbite first.
We got two fake fighters. We got two fake fighters. Hey, the only thing that's fake on this stage is Floyd's hairline.
Floyd said we got two fake fighters. And the dude said the only thing fake is his hairline. Floyd standing there looking like Richard Williams, like he about to take his daughters to learn tennis. Hey, yo, Floyd is funny, man. He don't give a shit.
I'll beat him. And it sucks that YouTube is going to take all that. Guess what? I'll fight him. It's Obi-Wan collecting, podcasting, goes into YouTube. About to be the greatest history fighter of all time. I'll fight real fighters. I'm willing to fight both on the same night.
Yeah, so Floyd said it there. I'm willing to fight both of you on the same night, like old school UFC style. And honestly, I thought, oh my God, we're going to get a 2-for-1 here. This is going to be great. We'll watch him fight Logan, and then we'll watch him fight Jake Paul, and that'll be fantastic.
I would love to see Floyd get in immaculate condition and fight Jake Paul and just beat the shit out of that guy.
After they walked off the stage.
Once again, showing another photo with Floyd Mayweather throwing up the mano cornuto hand sign.
Jake Paul is the younger brother, who's the one who knocked out Nate Robinson and then knocked out Ben Askren, confronted Floyd Mayweather and got face-to-face with him and actually snatched the...
Hey, yo, Ben Askren looked like he did not train one day for the fight. I mean, look at this shit. This dude got more rolls in a bakery. Like, come on, Ben Askren didn't train for this shit.
Baseball cap off of his head, and that's when everything exploded. Watch this.
You looking over here? What's up? You wanna run it 2 in 1 night? Yeah. What's the boom? You wanna run? Absolutely.
You can always tell when Floyd get hyped. He just start talking so fast, he make no sense whatsoever. The white boy said, "What's up? You want to fight till one night?" Floyd's like, "What? What? Yeah, we 2 on it, yeah." Hey, what is Floyd talking about, man?
So let's make it happen. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Yes, sir. Get the paperwork for this ball. Get L. Heyman. Absolutely. Yeah. Let me call L. Heyman. Let's make it happen. Come on. 2 one night. Got to happen.
That shit was so disrespectful. People saying, "I can't believe Floyd got that mad over your hat getting snatched." That was so disrespectful. Like, you got to be a so-called black man to understand that. Like, just off top, the man didn't have a fresh cut. Oh my goodness! And the white boy snatch his hat like that and then try to run away on some bitch shit. Oh my god! I know Floyd wanted to put that boy under. I'm happy they didn't let Floyd get to that boy, because Floyd really was ready to put him under the ground. You can see that shit. He could talk all that got your hat stuff all he want. He was running and he was scared, and he got the eye jamming from Floyd before he left. He got that for his troubles. But just in regards to Jake Paul, he's meant to play the archetypal role of the quote-unquote fool. Like, for example, known in the Alice in Wonderland stories as the Mad Hatter, or in the Batman movies as the Joker. It's the same archetypal figure representing the great goat, the quote-unquote god of mischief. They establish order by bringing chaos first. That's his character archetype as the quote-unquote problem child, or the divine child of mischief, known in the scriptures as the prince of the power of the air. You understand that? Both he and his brother represent those archetypes. When the scriptures use that term, the prince of the power of the air, that's who that's in reference to, Horus or Heru. Because the power of the air is who? The mother god is Hathor. You understand?
As you heard in that audio, Floyd looked, I've never seen Floyd that angry before.
Yeah.
In all the promotional events we've seen for big fights, the Conor McGregor fight, the Manny Pacquiao fight.
Because the dude tried to son him. Like, come on.
All the other stuff he's been involved in, it usually is the same thing. They get on stage, they grab microphones, they trash talk, and then everything else goes. This one got physical, and then you saw Floyd absolutely lose his mind and say, "I will kill people." And to me, that was like, I don't think it was scripted for that reason.
No, that shit wasn't scripted. Floyd wanted to put a hurting on that dude.
Like, it's good for business because everybody was talking about it, but I don't believe that Floyd knew that was going to...
Floyd hold grudges too. He gonna get that boy down the line, one way or the other. He gonna get his ass.
Emotions that you saw from Floyd were real here.
Yeah, I think if that was fake, give Floyd an Oscar, because that was the best acting I've ever seen. We've seen him with Conor McGregor, with the trash talking. I have never seen him lose his cool like he lost his cool, and I'm not saying he was wrong in doing so.
Back up earlier in the event, when...
Even Babcock said, "I'm not saying he was wrong in doing so." Look, you try to keep your composure, but there's certain things that people do where there ain't no going back. Like, come on, man. You gonna snatch the man's hat, snatch his chain. People get killed for stuff like that. Just be honest about it.
With Floyd, Logan was actually referencing Floyd's domestic violence conviction and called him a wife beater on stage.
Right, but Floyd didn't even care about that shit. Like, he don't care about that stuff. It is what it is. He plea bargained just to avoid having his kids brought to the witness stand to be forced to testify against their own dad. That also was ritualistic, by the way. I believe that he had to spend something like 63 days or 66 days in lockup. So that basically was a shaming ritual for Floyd Mayweather. Once he emerged from that, and by the way, he was 33 years old too, much like Richard Sherman was 33 years old when he was placed through what seems to be a shaming ritual about a month ago or so. So these things happen. He came out. I think that's when he went to Showtime, and his career elevated even more. But this situation that transpired between himself and Jake Paul, where Jake Paul tried to emasculate him like that, that shit ain't over. Floyd gonna get his get back one way or the